Okay, so Paolo, this means that, for instance, when you talk about a family planning post, if you compare with a representative or deputy rep, there the managerial skills are less important than the thematic knowledge.
It depends a bit really on the post, because if you are then on the ground managing a family planning program that is founded by the FID, for instance, then of course we would expect that you are really a solid program manager. But yes, more technical post. So we would be looking more for a technical expertise than a managerial expertise.
Okay. Thank you.
So the two entry-level programs we have, so given that we don't have really a young graduates program in UNFPA, are the JPO program, where you need a master's degree and at least 2 years of relevant professional experience. Mostly also they require both English and French. And this is surely SINFO, if there are questions, can better explain, because the program in Switzerland is also partly covered by SINFO. The interesting thing is the internship program, so which is 2 to 3 months, can be extended up to 6 months. It's non-remunerated, and this is really, in UNFPA, I would say that the internship program is a very substantive program. We don't take interns in order to do photocopying or to do the coffee of the managers. So that's not really how we really, in UNFPA, the internship program is a win-win program. For us, because we get somebody who really also is ready to contribute, but also for the intern, as it provides learning experience. And the interesting thing is with UNFPA that if you are interested and you are working in school and you are particularly focusing on like Burkina Faso, as it was the case of this German, you really work on Burkina Faso back in school, and you are in the middle of your master degree, and you have the opportunity to just spontaneously send your application for an internship to the country office in Burkina Faso. And they will be able to assess if you have a need or not. And now this person who is now currently in Burkina Faso is a communication. He studied communication and like organizational design. And he's really now helping the representative to establish an internal communication system. And so he's really doing a very substantive work that will be interesting for both the country office, but for himself to market later on among his CV. What we want is really somebody who has a demonstrated interest in development. So really also like ideally, especially if you look for internships, somebody who has been during the university, been volunteering with Amnesty International, raising funds, or like different kind of charities or political organizations. So we are really looking for this, and for languages and intercultural skills, because our workforce is very diverse, not only nationally, but also we have a diverse workforce within a country, where you have a country like DRC, where you have so many different nationalities. So the diversity is not only national, international, but it's also within one own country.
Paolo,
yeah,
I'll just jump in. I think this is a good opportunity with regard to the GPO program and internship. As you said, this is pretty new here in Switzerland. This is something we announced last week or 2 weeks ago. Switzerland and the Swiss Development Agency precisely is back into the GPO program, which means that we will start advertising now 11 positions within 11 UN organizations, and this is for 3 years in a row, which means in total we'll be advertising 33 GPO positions. So this is good news for the young public. We're having here in 11 UN organizations, which means 11 different fields. So visit our website. It's very fresh. It's on the news side, the news page, if you want to learn more about this. And the same with regard to UNV. We promote UNV in Switzerland as well. It's also a mandate SAFO has, and on our website you will find plenty of information with regard to that. So that was just into bracket for the people in the audience having an interest or a profile that is suitable for a GPO position. Back to you, Paolo. I can see here two questions regarding gender, asking if you have example of staff who had only a background on gender or on gender-based violence.
On gender-based violence, of course, yes. We are actually recruiting currently mid-level professionals for, I think it's Myanmar, in GBV, so where we really look for GBV only, so you don't need to have the full gamut of the thematic, the core thematic areas. Gender is a little bit different because gender is a transversal, so to have only gender expertise might be difficult. Gender and human rights, gender and sexual reproductive health, gender and GBV, so gender alone would be difficult. So then somebody who really has only gender may be looking with you and women, because in our field gender is not only like as such, it's more a transversal, it goes into all the other different aspects.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, you said that it's good for the candidates that you have 33 new JPO posts. It's of course good for us as well. So we are happy as well, clearly. The application process. So in UNFPA, all our posts are always advertised both internally and externally. So unlike other agencies who sometimes they advertise posts only internally, all our posts are advertised internally and externally. We have an eRecruit online application, which the beauty of the system is that you go into the system and then you set up your application, and then when you apply further, it will pop up immediately your data, and you can work on already existing data. So you need to do it only once. The problem is, of course, we speak a lot about one UN and we speak a lot about delivery as one, and we are not able to do a common application process. So the unbeauty of this system is that every organization has its own. And it's quite a comprehensive, so it will take, if you do it seriously, you have to count between 3 to 5 hours if you really do it. And 3 to 5 hours if you already have your CV prepared in a Word format. So it's really something that needs to be taken seriously. We have sometimes the written test, that depends on the post. The written test might count towards the final scoring, and then interviews and the written test build the result. Or sometimes the written tests are used to screen out further before the interviews. All our interviews are competency-based, and we will speak about application later on. We also look and have really give an important role to performance appraisals, because we know that sometimes interviews is also like the form of the day. So we always request performance appraisals not only from staff coming from other UN agencies, but really also from outside world. So if you work in the private, where it's probably not always like so obvious that you get performance appraisal, this is really an important thing to have if you have worked somewhere. And we do also quite throughout reference checking. We don't only check references that the candidate put down to us, because of course we all have been candidates at a different stage or another in our life, and we will put down people who only say nice things about you, so of course we know that. So if we have a candidate, for instance, I don't know, who is applying and has been working in Guinea-Bissau, I will call our representative in Guinea-Bissau and I will ask her to do a little investigative work for us to find out about this candidate. So this is also something we take quite seriously in UNFPA. UNFPA is small. We have only 3,000 staff members in fixed terms. So you know that if you do a wrong recruitment decision, it really, because in the UN system, you don't have probation period. So if you hire somebody, you hire somebody for a year. Now, if you do a wrong hiring and you are the secretariat or you are UNDP, it doesn't make such a big difference because you have 10,000 more people around, if not more. But in UNFPA, where maybe you are the only expatriate in a country and you really make the wrong hiring decision and have to take the person for a year, that is really a problem. So UNFPA really pays a lot of attention to reference feedback. The entire recruitment timeline, so from the moment you applied in the system to when you get your selection letter, is 4 months at the maximum.
Paolo, to what you just said,
Yeah.
this means that people get a one-year contract, or how does it work?
Yes, that's correct. All contracts with the UN, it's not only with UNFPA, are for 1 year initially. And the extension is then subject to availability of funding and of positive performance appraisal.
Mm-hmm. And from your perspective, what would you tell to Swiss people who might be maybe a little bit afraid to leave their job here and to get on board with a UN organization with a one-year contract?
My advice, who doesn't risk doesn't earn, or that's what doesn't, how we say, it's an Italian saying. I mean, when I left Sinfo, many people told me, but you are crazy, you have such a secure job with Sinfo and everything is fine with all the social net and security, and you go for a job. At that time, my first assignment was even of limited duration, so it wasn't even a fixed term appointment, it was an assignment of limited duration. I mean, you also can a bit evaluate the risk. So you see what kind of post you're applying. If you're applying for a post that clearly indicates this is a project post, and the availability funding is not secured, then if you have a family with 5 kids, I'm not sure I would do that. Leave my current job and then move for this. But you have other posts that you can see that they look like more stable ones, like support posts, finance specialists, management posts, technical specialists, not really in a specific project. So when you apply for a post, have a good look at what kind of post is it, how it is more or less fitting in the organizational structure. And the Swiss have a really good advantage with Sinfo, because if they really don't know, they can go to Sinfo and they can find out more about this post. But clearly, sometimes you have to take a risk, and you don't know if it's working out or not.
Okay, thank you, Paulo.
Maybe if you speak now about an application, and so when you apply for a post, or when you wish or think to apply for a post, look first of all at the requirements and the experience that is requested. Because if you don't have the minimum requirements and you don't have the minimum experience, you will be screened out in the very beginning. So there is no way that if the post requires fluency in French that you apply for a post, because all the UN agencies, at the end of a recruitment process, there is a compliance review board that will check if the candidates if due diligence was done in the recruitment process. And we had once a recruitment process cancelled in a country because we had actually interviewed somebody who did not have all the language requirements. So this is important. Only apply if you meet the minimum qualifications and the experience requirements. Also see, and this goes back to the question we had before, I am ready to apply now. So if you are on a really secure job with 5 kids and the kids are young, are you really ready to apply now for a non-family duty station? So you have also to see, work with the UN is much more than just going to work in the morning. It's also life experience that heavily impacts your private life. So sometimes maybe it's just not the right moment to apply for such a post. And then also look at all the considerations and all the implications if you were selected. So I'm applying for a non-family duty station post. I am aware that if I'm selected, I have to leave my family behind, I have to leave my kids behind. You know, a recruitment process costs a lot of money. And if then we have a candidate at the end of the process saying no without really good reasons, the chances are very high that if you next time apply, the system, the application system, will raise a little red flag and saying, oops, this person had turned down the job without good reason. So the chances are that you might not be getting very far in the recruitment process should you apply another time. And then an important thing is to really tailor the CV for specific positions. So this is actually the beauty, but it's also one of the dangers of this e-recruit system. Because when you go in and you apply, everything that you have inputted previously pops up again, except your motivation letter and except the final questionnaire. But all the experience is all in there. And so then the temptation, of course, is quite big that you just take over what was written there and you just carrying on from one position to the other. And I do not recommend to do that. I recommend really to look at the job, what is requested in the job, and then try to see, so this job is supposed to do this ABC. Do I have somewhere in my CV ABC coming up, particularly if it's the main function of the job? I've done once a screening for a job that was the coordinator of the task force for adolescent girls. And the first thing I did, because we had so many applications, I checked all the CVs who had like adolescent girls or young girls or something, and I had screened out all the CVs that had nothing about adolescent or young girls in their CV. I didn't even look at the CV, so I didn't even read the motivation letter. So this is important. Taylor, we also had like candidates saying, I'm pleased to apply for this post in Myanmar, and then they were applying for a post in Burkina Faso. They just took over a previous application. Don't do that. Also, what's important when you apply for a job, try to find out as much as you can about the organization. Try to find out, is the organization undergoing a change process? Is the organization like having a new restructuring or a new strategic focus? Is the organization expanding? Is the organization downsizing? And here again in Switzerland, you have the beauty of SINFO that is able to give you actual information of even exotic organizations that probably half of you have never heard about, because the UN system has so many organizations. So really try to find out about the organization, then also about the particular job. If you apply somewhere, try to find out as much as you can for this particular job, because already in an application stage, this is important, because if you know that this organization is having a new strategic focus, you can wave that into your organization, into your application, and then it gives you an added value and an added advantage when a recruiter goes through the CV. If you know exactly what the job entails, we had once, actually it was a Swiss even, this was even on the interview stage, so not preparing for an application, and the person had applied for a post in the regional office, and then we find out that the person didn't even know that in UNFPA we have regional offices. So of course, this person could have done the best interview in the world, but there was no chance that he would be given the job, because he hadn't simply done his homework. So this is what I'm saying, prepare for an application. It will then, in case you are shortlisted and interviewed for a post, it will make the preparation for an interview much easier if you have done all the homework already at the stage of application. Take the time for application seriously. And don't do it at the last moment, because it's an electronic system. So once the time is off, it kicks you out of the system even if you're in the middle of application. We have candidates who start like 2 hours before the deadline to do and then they send us a message and say, oh, but the system doesn't work. And then of course I can go into the system and I see at what time they started their application, and they tell them, no, the system works very well. It's you that really didn't do your proper. You have 1 month or 3 weeks or 2 weeks to apply. You don't wait for the last day. So this is also an important advice I can give. So this is how it looks like when you go into our career page and the electronic system that I was just mentioning. So this is a bit what we wanted to tell you in regard to human resources and how to come to UNFPA. Maybe if I can just add one last word, because it refers neatly to what Joachim was asking before, like, would you be ready to give up really like a secure job in Switzerland with all the social benefits and like also pension and everything, to go for such an insecure job with the UN? And I think that maybe we don't have part-time, we don't have share time, we don't have maybe telecommuting, we don't have all the social security that the Swiss jobs offer. But I think that the experiences you make is not a professional, but it's a lifetime experience. And I believe that this is worth maybe losing 1 or 2 of the perks that the Swiss companies would be offering to you, because the perks we offer are not measurable in money, but they are measurable in lifetime experience that you won't really forget so easily.
All right. Thank you, Paolo.
Thank you, Joachim.
Thanks a lot. And to all your references to SINFO as well. It is true that we have plenty to offer in order to support people. Maybe to add on what you just said, could you tell us more about what trainings and career development possibilities do you offer to your staff?
So we have, first of all, we have on-the-job training and actually when we do our performance appraisals, we have also one specific part which looks at developmental areas. So every staff member in UNFPA, from really the G2, which is like the lowest level of a driver, up to the director, they have to formulate developmental goals, because we are on the assumption that everybody has developmental needs on each level, and even most experienced one. So this is the first thing I wanted to mention, so that for us is really important. UNFPA prides itself to be a learning organization. So we encourage our staff to look for possibilities for learning on the job. Then we also have, I mentioned, the certification in population development, which is an online distant learning, has like 6 or 7 modules, maybe Sunny you know better. It's really a very comprehensive and gives you really like all the thematic areas, subject areas of UNFPA. It gives you a very profound knowledge on that. And then, of course, we also have workshops, we have seminars that you can attend. And we have this brand new initiative which is called the Leadership Pools. So what we have since this year, we have created in UNFPA leadership pools. And leadership pools are also meant, like for instance, if you are a technical advisor, so like in either here at the technical division or you're a technical advisor in the country office, and you would like to move on to the more managerial posts, like deputy representative and representative. And we have seen that in the past, the technical advisor, when they were applying for this representative post, they would not be shortlisted, they wouldn't even be given the chance to actually interview, because the manager would disqualify and say, oh, they don't have any way managerial experience. So we have now established this leadership pools because we want particularly also to help our technical staff, to support them, to send them to an assessment to see what are the developmental gaps they have, and then to help them proactively fill those gaps so that they can really change from a more technical job to representative stream. It goes the same for our national staff. So the leadership pools are also meant for our national staff to jump from a national career into an international career. So we really also want this mix, so this cross-functional, which is, again, we are a small organization, so we can do that. In other organizations, it's really difficult to cross-functional move within the organization. So this is like the different aspect I wanted to mention.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for mentioning the pool, Paolo. This is a question we had because you advertised it recently. I think this was 2 months ago. We tried to broadcast this news in Switzerland as well from the CINFO perspective. Could you tell us, or do you have an idea about when the leadership pool will be open to applications again?
The current leadership pool, the intake, the selected candidates, as we speak, they're traveling today to Istanbul. So the first batch of selected candidates, both internal and external, will be undergoing the assessments in those days. And it is planned that we have every year this leadership pool call for applications.
Thank you. I can see that many questions are coming in. Thank you very much. So to the participants, we still have 15 minutes, so don't hesitate. We're screening the question and trying to integrate them into the discussion. We have an interesting comment from our colleague from UN Women. We have a colleague attending the webinar as well, saying, if I find it again, that UN Women does have different openings at this time in the field of gender and gender-based violence. We discussed this before. So yeah, take a look at the website of UN Women as well. Okay, let me go through the questions we have. Paolo, we can't see your screen anymore. I guess you did it on purpose.
I did, unless you want to see the screen again, I can put it back.
Okay, so whenever we have a question and you would like to refer to your screen, you can always do so. Okay, some other questions we got from the participants. Is there an interest in people who are older than 55 years old, for instance? So how do you go with older people? I guess this is related to consultants and how you can value this expertise.
Yeah, so if we speak about consultant, then there is really no limit to the age. I have actually my favorite HR consultant that I'm using really a lot. He's because we are doing a lot of assessments in country offices. We go down, we look at the staffing, we look at the program, and then of course the staffing has to follow the program needs, and then we adjust our staffing. So I can't do this all alone because I cover the entire Africa region, and I have an Italian actually as consultant. He's 73 and he does a superb job, and he goes in he was even in Bangu in Central African Republic, so he's really not afraid to go anywhere. So that is for consultants. We don't have an age limit. Of course, for staff, we have the age limit, which is common to all the UN system. It used to be 62. It will be now increased as of next year up to 65, which means that somebody who is 55 will be definitely considered for posts as well. We will probably not consider somebody above 55 for a P2 or a P3 level post, because those are like more entry-level, mid-level posts, and since we have so few of those, we'd rather keep them for a younger population, but definitely for P4 or P5 for the one-level jobs without any problem.
Okay. Thank you, Paolo. Okay, one more question, which is an interesting one, actually. How can I get in contact with UNFPA without using the job portal? And I think that there we're touching on two different aspects. On the one hand, I would like to mention and to jump on this question into the discussion with regards to the networking opportunities that are offered around. And this relates to, for instance, what we're doing now. There is this webinar. I will mention it afterwards again, but you will be coming to Switzerland next year for the SINFO Forum. You can apply for an individual discussion within SINFO. So it is the case in Switzerland. It's not the case in every country, but still, like this kind of concrete networking opportunities are one aspect. Maybe another dimension would be how is it possible to engage with you from a professional perspective? For someone being a reproductive health expert, is there any way to exchange with you? Are you using any type of platforms where you're trying to bring in knowledge from external people? How do you interact with this reproductive health community?
Well, this is Senen here. There are a couple of ways you can do that. There are community of practices run by WHO, run by universities, and you can join them. The one that I know particularly around health systems and policy run from WHO, evidence and information unit. There are others in Africa around midwifery, etc. But apart from those community of practices, I guess through conferences, I mean, even my personal experience, I felt, before I joined UNFPA, I engaged with many UNFPA advisors by attending the conferences on maternal and newborn health. So those are few that I can mention. Or if you are working in a particular country through a specific multi-country project, you can also engage through a network of the different study sites. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sanan. What I would like to add is how about social media? Because apparently this is very powerful, plenty of opportunities and perspective in order to network with people. How active are you in this field?
That's a good question. Actually, the executive director has a Twitter account, but I can tell you he's not managing the Twitter account. From time to time, he does tweet. This is an area that our media and communication is trying to improve and making sure that all of our offices, they have a Facebook page, they have a Twitter account. I myself have a Twitter account. I don't have so many followers because I don't have that much time to engage, but I have a Facebook, and there is another thing called LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn,
and,
yeah.
Yes, and I have so many. I mean, I have over 1,000 of colleagues who accept and I accept their skills and competencies. So yes, you can definitely use those.
Okay. And how do you interact with your LinkedIn network? Do you interact with them? Are you active in groups, or would you encourage people? For instance, we have participants here. I can see in the comments some people are very enthusiastic about this exchange we're having now and the content. What would you tell them? Okay, please get in touch with me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to exchange with you.
Well, I'm good at that. I mean, for me personally, I take pride in responding to colleagues, whether it is email, whether it is social media. But not everybody is responsive. But for me, when I get on there, you tap a specific set of skills that you are looking for, and then you will see different people and expertise popping. And because you want particularly maybe to liaise with someone at UNFPA or at WHO, you also have the affiliation there, so you can select and just engage in conversation. I was very happy to discover after 2 weeks the other day someone who sent me a message from Benin. I don't know him personally, and he's studying at Antwerp University in Belgium, and he heard about me, and so he sent me a message, and I responded to him, and we started having collaboration. I share with him some of my papers, and yes, so.
Okay.
Actually, just to mention that we are launching probably very soon, hopefully this month, the LinkedIn career page of UNFPA. We are working on this right now. We already have a Facebook career page, and we particularly would like to launch the LinkedIn as well.
Okay, thank you.
And I think before you go on, I was I was supposed to give you some figures, which I have now for you. So in 2013, we had 71 Swiss who submitted 143 applications. In total, we had so far 6,866 applicants who submitted a total of 14,062 applications. You really have a little bit to catch up because, of course, the least people apply, the least chances you have to secure a job. The more people apply, the more chances you have. I mean, I can give you some more figures, like just indicatively. We have like one of the organizations who, one of the countries that do really well is actually the Germans. And I'll tell you, the Germans are really doing very well. Also, the Germans have a high retention rate of JPOs. So had 249 applications. So you see, it's way more than what we have from the 78 Swiss. So you see, this is really, you have always to look in the context, can you get more Swiss to apply for the job?
Okay, I think these figures are quite impressive, and actually, for the people it's good to see and to know the chance they have in Switzerland, at least to have the Swiss government sponsoring the activities we're doing here within SINFO in order to get the people the chance to get closer to you. Okay, maybe one more question. Do you have opportunities in reproductive health commodity procurement?
Yes, we have a lot of opportunities, and some of them will also come next year, for example. They will be opening in countries. We want to strengthen or put our country offices in a good position to succeed, which means you need to have a strong staff in terms of skill and competencies. So there are a couple of offices that we'll be looking at putting some international there, as Paolo mentioned. At the regional office level, we are going through a process of reprofiling, and there will be some advertisement of that he mentioned, of family planning. We used to call those positions reproductive health commodity security, but now we put them under the umbrella of family planning. Okay. And at headquarters, we are not looking to increase headquarters that much because things are happening in the field, and therefore we want to make sure we have staff in the field. So yes, there will be opportunities.
Okay, thank you, Sanan. We have other questions coming in with regard to the work experience. This is always the crucial aspect, quite difficult to assess for the people. What do you consider being a relevant work experience, because it has to be relevant, and how do you count this experience, because it's quite strict. You show the scale before to be eligible for P2, P3, P4. You need to have that amount of years of professional experience. How do you go about this?
So the experience, first of all, we count the professional experience as after the master's. So we do exceptions for like international operations manager post, because there are people who start like with a bachelor degree in finance or in ICT, and then they do some work and then they get a master's degree. So there we are not as strict. But for representative posts, for technical posts, technical advisors, program specialists, it starts with the master's degree. And then, of course, the experience has to be relevant. In that, we are a little bit more flexible, because very often it says experience in population and development. And so you see, population and development is really quite a wide, it englobes a lot of things. So we are in UNFPA not so strict. So poverty reduction, that's already, although it doesn't really directly connect to reproductive health, but in a larger sense, it is part also of poverty reduction. So we would count somebody who has with UNDP experience in poverty reduction. So the only thing that we are a little bit strict is really with the master's degree. So you need to have a master's degree, and usually the experience is after the master's degree. Another thing is, which is important, is the field experience. So if you have really your entire work experience only in Switzerland, it will be very difficult to be considered for a post, unless it is really an international operations manager post at the P3 level. But even for that, we more and more look for people who have an experience which is like broader, which is also an international experience.
Okay, and Paulo, maybe one last thing. How about PhDs and research experience?
PhD is not requested, but it's highly desirable for very high-level posts, like at the D1 level.
Okay.
And
okay,
so usually we count the work experience. Yeah, we usually count the work experience. Somebody who was working on a PhD, we count that as work experience.
Aha, okay. This is considered as work experience.
Yes.
Okay.
It could be, of course, not relevant. So if you have a PhD, I don't know, in democratization of Swaziland, and then you applied for a GBV post, so then that's really at the limit. So we will probably not count that too much. So it has to be also relevant in a way or another.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, and with regard to that, we have a very interesting question, I think. How about midwifery? Because you might know that in Switzerland, it is only recently that the midwifery schools have been upgraded to this bachelor master system. How do you go about this kind of profile?
That's a problem. Exactly. Because not only in Switzerland, all over Europe, the nurses and the midwifery did not have a master's degree. So without a master's degree, I'm very open here and very honest, it will not be possible to secure a professional level post. We had a case with somebody who was selected and she claimed that she had a master's degree, but then when we checked, it actually was not a master's degree, and we had to withdraw the selection letter to her. So this is a problem. We are aware of the problem. This is why with midwifery we are very we are very flexible. So it means like if you have like the normal diploma, the midwifery diploma, and then you have been working like 10 years for this midwifery diploma, and now you have masters and you have only been working 2 years after the masters, we would count the years before as well. So midwifery is exactly one of those professional posts where we count the masters before and after.
Hey, thank you very much.
You need a master.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot. This is very interesting, and very honestly, I thank you for being so open with us and really engaging into a conversation. This was the objective of this session, and I think that you played the role and your role perfectly well. Unfortunately, it's already 8:30, which is a good sign. It means that the time went quickly, and it means that it was interesting. Before closing, could you just in a nutshell tell us what advice, Paolo, what advice, Senan, would you like, what last advice would you like to give to the people listening to us now?
Well, let me start by giving my own personal experience. The first thing is connection. Connection. The second thing is speak about your desire, about what you would like to do when you meet colleagues working with the UN. I think those are the key things. Connection, because it's good to send an application, but it's always better to have someone who has been in the system for the type of profile of job you are looking for, who can give you some advice, even in how to submit the application and to better highlight your skills and competencies. So those are my advice. And the network, go whenever you attend any conferences on your subject matter, network with people, use social media, present yourself, and people, I'm sure, will help. Just like any job fair, that would be what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Senan.
Yeah, I can make it also very brief. For me, really, never give up. So you want to secure a job with the UN, it's difficult. We know you have to try many times, and it still maybe doesn't work out. It's also good to prepare oneself. So like even if you are not, we have showed now the different, like how many years you need for that. But even if you don't have yet the experience now, go to look at job descriptions that are posted out there. See what is my profile, what do they require, what are my gaps, and then proactively, how can I fill those gaps? So a career, I know a career, particularly with the UN, is very often just to be at the right moment, the right person at the right place, but you can a little bit also plan for it, because if you don't plan for it, then even if you are the right person at the right moment at the right place, you will not get selected.
Okay, thank you, Paolo. I think that the never give up is something I will take with me home tonight, not in terms of content, but more with regard to the technical setup. This was our motto when we organized this webinar, which was quite challenging from the technical perspective. Never give up. So yeah, and it worked out. Okay, thank you very much. Just a couple of last information before we definitely close this session. First of all, the recording. There will be a recording of this session available very soon, within 1, 2, 3 days, available on our website. Individual discussion. This is something very important which goes with this webinar. That's a huge chance we have here. So as you could see on our website, please, participants, feel free to apply for a bilateral discussion. One important aspect to mention here is the nationality, and this is something we're not always very comfortable with, but that's how it works. We have to select only Swiss applicants for these bilateral talks. The reason behind is the fact that this is sponsored by the Swiss Development Agency in order to increase the number of Swiss people applying to UNFPA. You could see the figures from Paolo before. It is a challenge to have more Swiss people applying. This is why we are organizing this. Then what will happen is that we'll screen applications. This is also something we have to do on the basis of the criteria that are on our website now. And after that, we'll share the pre-selected CVs or profile with Paolo, and we'll organize an individual discussion where you'll be able to interact directly with Paolo, ask your questions, and get a feedback on your profile. So Senen was talking about connections before. This is how it goes, or at least this is one aspect, to be connected, to be able to get the relevant information for you to be competitive when you apply to a position. Another option for people physically based in Switzerland is to come to the forum SINFO. Every second year we organize a forum. The next one will take place in October next year, or end of October, and we'll have all our partner organizations present there, maybe or hopefully Paolo as well. So this would be another opportunity for you candidates or for you interested people to come, interact and meet with these people, with the UN representatives, also NGOs, government, and of course, SINFO. Okay, for those of you, Paolo, Senen, we can see that you're moving around. The webcam is still on. Paolo.
Had to run away for a meeting, so he says goodbye.
Okay.
That's why, so he couldn't say it in person, but I'm saying it on his behalf.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Great.
So please thank him as well for the content and the quality of the information he shared with us today. Okay, I'm nearly done. If you liked the format, we will replicate this webinar series with other UN organizations. Hopefully with UN Women very soon, and then with UNICEF and with UNDP as well early next year. So please spread the word, stay connected with us, and you will get access to this information. Now, we'll close the session very soon. You will get a survey as well that you can fill in very easily, very quickly. So please, please do it. This is very important and useful for us. And if you wish to get in touch with us or to ask additional questions, you can always contact SINFO at eo@sinfo.ch, EO like international organizations. So this is it from our side. Thank you, Paolo, again. Thank you, Senen, for your time and availability. That was excellent. I think I'm really happy with the quality of the discussions we had today. Thank you to the participants for being here and for your questions as well. So we wish you all the best for the next stages of your career, and we hope to see you again within SINFO, being physically or being virtually. So thank you and goodbye to all.
Thank you. Bye.